Paul obviously is not joined any longer. Paul is there in his own full-blown right. And what is he engaged in? Self-protection. Oh, don't get too close and don't ask too much of me. Give me a break. Don't ask for me to be fully conscious. Don't ask for me to be in that place where everything flows and everything is wonderful and transformation occurs and healing occurs. Don't ask me to be there. Stand back, you who are different from me but weren't different from me yesterday. You see? When he does that, or when you do it with each other, you're both coming from the place of poverty. You're both coming from the place where you're minus your birthright. And you confirm your poverty to each other. Consider how perfectly your lesson would be learned if you were unwilling to share their poverty. And by sharing it, confirm it. Consider how perfectly your lesson would be learned if you were willing to find no occasion to not fulfill your function, which is to recognize God there and not suffer from seeing less than God there. See again, consider how perfectly. Whose lesson? Your lesson. We're talking about someone else seeming to have a problem and needing help and asking for help, expressing their poverty. But it says, consider how perfectly your lesson. You see, we're still talking about getting your own head on straight. Consider how perfectly your lesson would be learned if you were unwilling to share their poverty. In other words, if you were unwilling to abandon your union with the voice for truth. How beautifully would your lesson be learned if you found no occasion worthy of shutting your ears to the voice for truth, to your right mind. That would be a grand lesson, because it would mean you would be moving into the integrity of your being, the wholeness of your being, the holiness of your being, and finding no reason to be fascinated with anything less. For poverty is lack, and there is but one lack. It's the absence of your birthright. That's the only lack there is. And what is your birthright? It's your inheritance from your source. Ooh. But I've spent lifetimes developing my capacity to be my source. And you want me to abandon all of that? You're telling me it's nothing but a bunch of illusions? You want me to abandon that? You're going to have to give me a pretty good reason. Well, the only reason I can give you is your experience of life right now. Is it full of glory? Is it full of peace? Is it full of abundance, wholeness, invulnerability? Or is it far less than that? Now, if it being far less from that is of no concern to you, fine, okay. but I'll be here once you find it to be less than you want. For poverty is lack, and there is but one lack, since there is but one need. What's the one need? It's for the phone to ring, and God to pick up the phone and hear you say, "Hello, Dad?" "Hi, Dad. I remember you. I know who you are, and I know who I am, and I'm yours. And I know I'm not you, but I know that you are all there is of me. And I want to be the way things are with you from now on." That's the one need. Annul the divorce. That's the one need. Now, suppose a brother insists on having you do something you think you do not want to do. "Hi, sweetheart. Give me a hug. I just love you so much." "Oh, come on. I just sat down to get to work on this thing I haven't attended to for a week because I was taking care of you so much." Suppose a brother insists on having you do something you think you do not want to do. "Oh, come on, honey. You can do it later. Just spend 10 or 15 minutes with me." "Come on. You can't get blood from a turnip. You can't get water from a stone. Let me just do this. I've been waiting and waiting and waiting." "Oh, come on, honey. Come on. I promise, if you spend 15 or 20 minutes with me, I won't bother you." Suppose a brother insists on having you do something you think you do not want to do. The very fact of his insistence should tell you that he believes salvation lies in it. In other words, if there is inflexibility there, it means that there's a strong intent and that in some way salvation or real good will come of it. Now, if you insist on refusing and experience a quick response of opposition, and I'm going to add within yourself, you are believing that your salvation lies in not doing it. And you can understand that at that moment you think your salvation lies in getting to do this thing you've been waiting to do all week. And there's more good in that for you to experience than the alternative that's being offered. You then are making the same mistake that he is, and are making his error real to both of you. Now, what's the error that you're making real? The error that you're making real is that you, not in your right mind, you, not in a joined place, have agendas that are real and which, if they are fulfilled, or if they are brought to completion, will constitute fulfillment for you as an independent agent. And so you are, by your act, confirming your independence, your orphanhood, and also confirming the independence and orphanhood of the one who's inviting you to spend a little time engaging in affection. You are making the same mistake that he is, and are making his error real to both of you. Insistence means investment, and what you invest in is always related to your notion of salvation. The question is always twofold. First, what is to be saved? And second, how can it be saved? Now, again, to simplify things, remember that you only have two apparent ways in which to be. Two choices. One is to listen for, to listen to join with the voice for truth, or to listen to the voice for fear. The answer to what is to be saved and how can it be saved will be different depending upon which of the two voices you're choosing to listen to. If you're listening to the voice for fear, what is to be saved is your pride. What is to be saved is your ass. What is to be saved is your face. What is to be saved is your position. The position you have defined for yourself and that you have spent your life trying to get other people to agree to and cooperate with. And how can it be saved? By asserting this so-called private authority with superiority so as to overcome the other's attempt to meet his or her need and save his or her face, his or her pride, his or her feelings of worthiness. But if you're listening to the voice for truth, what is to be saved? What is to be saved? What is to be confirmed? The endless, uninterrupted movement and expression of love that is not self-seeking, but embraces all forever, without hesitation or reservation. What is to be saved is the infinite way things work, the beautiful way things work, that do not fit definitions, but are themselves that which give meaning to God, that which embody meanings that God is expressing and being, that which discloses, uncovers, and illuminates the glory of what God is, what good is. So the answers are different depending upon the voice you are choosing to listen to. Continuing, whenever you become angry with a brother, oh, wait a minute, who's this you? Well, if the word angry is in there, it is obviously the independent one, the so-called independent one, the one who authorizes things with glee, Whenever you become angry with a brother for whatever reason, you are believing that the ego is to be saved. And specifically, your ego. And to be saved by attack. In other words, by means of offense. Wow. If he, your brother, attacks, you are agreeing with this belief. And if you attack, you are reinforcing it. And you're both caught in the illusion, and you're both confirming a lie. You're both confirming a dream. And you're both stuck in it. Even though you are not really in it at all, because you haven't stopped being the Christ. You've just forgotten that you are the Christ. Remember that those who attack are poor. In other words, minus their birthright, minus the conscious awareness of who and what they are because of what their source, their father is. Their poverty asks for gifts, not further impoverishment. Their poverty asks for you not to come from the same place they're coming from, which will confirm their poorness, their poverty. That's why you're taught, you're told, that you're faced with one of two things: love or the call for love. So that you might remember that poor behavior is not something for you to personally react to, but for you to be able to, from a joined place, respond with love for. You're to remember that the poor behavior is not an attempt to control private, personal, authoritative little you, or to hurt your feelings, but it is a call for release from the misunderstanding, the misperceptions that are causing the poor behavior to be expressed. Their poverty asks for gifts, that which will replace the poverty, that which will uncover the fact that the poverty is illegitimate, which they can't see at the moment, and which they're being crushed by. Their poverty asks for gifts, not for further impoverishment. You who could help them are surely acting destructively if you accept their poverty as yours. Like the Monday morning after a weekend gathering, and somebody walks up and asks for one extra question of me through Paul. They are expressing a need. They are sharing their experience of poverty. And if Paul says, "I'm sorry, but I deserve some time off," he's responding from his poverty, and both are impoverished more. You who could help them are surely acting destructively if you accept their poverty as yours. If you had not invested as they had, it would never occur to you to overlook their need. Well, the ego's retort is, what do you mean overlook their need? What about me overlooking my need? I need some rest from being on the ball. I need some rest from being clear. I need some time to do things I want to do, like sleep in. Not be at the beck and call of everything. Why, friends, the whole universe, all of creation, calls to you at this moment to see it for what it is. And from your tininess, you think, oh, overwhelming, universal demands are being made upon me. Yes, to come back into your right mind and enjoy the effortless, natural experience of being able to recognize God in everything and rejoice in the experience without reservation, without limitation, as your daily conscious experience. Now we come to a sentence that is greatly misinterpreted. Recognize what does not matter. And if your brothers ask you for something outrageous, do it because it does not matter. And I'll tell you that very often that sentence is taken and responded with, well, of course, the whole world is an illusion. If my brother asks me to do something outrageous, like sit in the car outside the 7-Eleven with the engine running while he goes in and picks up a little extra cash, hey, of course, it's outrageous, but hey, the whole world's an illusion anyway. It doesn't matter. I'm going to come back to our illustration of when Paul is, as he is right now, with you, but being with you from his union with me. When you say something like, sit in the car outside the 7-Eleven while I pick up a little extra cash, which is another way of saying, help me find a way to screw my fellow man out of a few extra dollars by striking a really good deal, a really good business deal here, Raj. Paul has to make a distinction between what matters and what doesn't matter. And what doesn't matter is what you're saying. What doesn't matter is how you're saying it. What doesn't matter is whether what you're saying makes any sense or not. What matters is that you're feeling a need and you need to be free of it. And for him not to be fazed by the experience of need that you're talking about, and to stay with me where the answer is. Whatever it might be, however unexpected it might be to you. However far from the subject the answer that relieves might seem to be from the question that was asked. You see? So, Paul has to recognize what does not matter. And if you ask for something outrageous, do it. Do what? Respond from the place of wholeness. Respond from the union with me. Respond from the union with the Holy Spirit. Because that's what does matter. Because what's happening is not what appears to be happening. What's happening is a call for love. It seems to say, please recognize the seriousness and the reality of my dilemma. And please give me the answer within the context of my dilemma and within the context of the mutually agreed definitions about how things work in this particular arena of activity that I'm engaged in. In other words, answer my question from within the box I'm in. That question doesn't matter. If Paul tries to make it matter, he will not be able to hear me. And he will not be able to hear the answer that negates the question by replacing it with what works, by replacing it with the way things are, in which the experience of need is not real and doesn't actually exist, so that a shift of perception can occur. And you who are asking the question find yourself free of the dilemma because you have clarity from wholeness. Recognize what does not matter, and if your brothers ask you for something outrageous, do it because it does not matter. Refuse, and your opposition establishes that it does matter to you. Now, who would refuse? Not someone joined. The one who would refuse is one who is likewise caught up in his or her own sense of independence and authority, and thereby necessarily a need for self-protection. Refuse, and your opposition establishes that it does matter to you. In other words, that what doesn't matter does matter to you. The moment Paul begins to feel empathy for the person asking the question, the person experiencing the dilemma, he loses the connection with me and immediately feels his own personal incapacity to respond, and as a result goes into a state of self-protection. And usually the state of self-protection involves a string of judgments that can explain just exactly to the person with the problem why they're having the problem. But this solves nothing. It's not an answer. It's a way of dealing with the situation so as to bring the interaction to an end swiftly, so that the discomfort of being confronted with an inability to have the answer can come to an end. And Paul, or you, or anyone else, can get on with something a little more pleasant than the close-up awareness of an incapacity to be the answer all by yourself. And thus, Paul, or you, and whoever else is involved are further impoverished, because a declaration, an insistence, has been expressed that seals the problem, solidifies it more solidly.